When a young man is betrayed by his own brothers, chained in the darkness of an Egyptian prison, what keeps him standing, refusing to bow, refusing to sell his soul? Stay with this story until the end to see how a prisoner is being shaped for a throne he can't yet see. Hot desert winds whip over the dunes, lashing the faces of merchants on their way to Egypt. Camels groan, ropes scrape against the necks of those who are bound. Among them walks Joseph, the young man once loved above all by his father Jacob. Not long ago he wore a bright, many-colored coat and slept in a warm tent in Canaan. Now, under his feet, there is only burning sand. Iron chains bite into his wrists. Behind him are the cold eyes of his own brothers, who sold him like a piece of cargo. The caravan stops at the gate of a large house in the city. High walls, tall palms casting shade, all tell that this belongs to a powerful man, Potiphar, commander of Pharaoh's guard. A nod, a few words of bargaining, and Joseph is handed over as a slave. No one asks if he agrees. From that moment on, his life belongs to this house. In those first days in Egypt, everything is strange. The language, the clothes, the gods people bow to. Joseph barely understands what is being shouted around him. But he knows one thing: God still sees him. So even as a slave, Joseph works as if he were standing right before God. He rises before dawn, sweeps the courtyard, cleans the storerooms, records the grain, and assigns work to the other servants. He doesn't steal, he doesn't slack off. He refuses to let bitterness eat him alive. His steps are quiet, but everything he touches slowly starts to run better. Potiphar notices. He realizes that from the day this Hebrew youth walked into his house, things have changed. The household feels more ordered. The fields seem to bear more. His wealth keeps growing. Potiphar can't explain it. He just feels blessed when Joseph is under his roof. Little by little, he hands Joseph the keys to everything. The granaries, the servants, the buying and selling, the records. Joseph is no longer an unnamed slave. He becomes the steward Potiphar trusts more than anyone. But just then, another kind of test begins to move toward him in silence. Joseph grows into a strong man, broad-shouldered, with a clear, steady face. Potiphar's wife, a woman long used to comfort and power, starts to notice the young manager in her house. At first, it's only glances that last a bit too long, questions that keep him back a little more than needed. Then one day, when the house is empty, she speaks plainly.
Come and lie with me.
In that moment, every injustice in Joseph's life seems to rush back at once. With one simple yes, he could gain favor, ease his burden, and secure a softer life. But in his mind, he hears his father Jacob's voice, the old man who still believes his son is dead. He remembers the God who gave him those strange dreams long ago. Joseph looks her straight in the eyes and says,
My master has put everything in this house under my care. He has kept nothing back from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do this great evil and sin against God?
From that day on, Joseph does everything he can to avoid her. He focuses on his work, makes sure he's never alone with her in the house. But this woman does not give up. Day after day, she tries again, her words growing more intense, her demand turning into an obsession. Joseph's refusal is not just a no. To her pride, it is an insult. Then comes the day when the house is quieter than usual. The other servants have been sent out. Potiphar is away. Joseph steps inside to do his duties just like any other day. Suddenly, Potiphar's wife comes toward him, grabs his cloak, and pulls hard.
Come to bed with me,
she demands. In a heartbeat, Joseph has only two choices: stay and fall, or run and face whatever comes. He tears himself away, leaving his cloak in her hands, and sprints for the door. The cloak rips off his shoulders, left hanging in the grip of a furious woman. Her anger quickly turns into accusation. She calls the household servants, points to the cloak on the floor, and screams, "That Hebrew your master brought here came in to make a fool of me." I screamed, and he ran, leaving his cloak beside me. When Potiphar returns home, she repeats the story, adding tears and wounded honor. No one asks Joseph for his side. His own cloak lies there on the tiles as if it were a witness against him. Potiphar's rage explodes. He orders Joseph seized, chained, and thrown into the prison where the king's prisoners are kept. Iron doors slam shut. Damp darkness closes over the young man once cherished by his father, once trusted with an entire household. If there was ever a moment when Joseph could have let go of God, this was it. Yet in the deepest place of his heart, he clings to one truth. God has not wronged him, even if people have. Inside that prison, Joseph starts again from nothing. Cold stone walls, the stink of mold, the constant clink of chains whenever a prisoner turns in his sleep. Joseph refuses to let bitterness rule him here either. He helps the warden organize the prison. He hands out food. He looks after the weaker ones. Once again, God is with Joseph, and once again, someone notices. The warden learns to trust him and eventually puts the care of the other prisoners in Joseph's hands. One day, 2 new men are thrown into the prison, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and his chief baker. They were once close to the king, breathing the same air as the throne. Now they're disgraced, locked away, waiting for a verdict they don't know. Night falls. In the heavy dark, they toss and turn. The next morning, Joseph sees their faces and knows something is wrong.
"Why do you look so troubled today?"
He asks.
"We both had dreams,"
They answer.
"but there's no one to interpret them."
Joseph remembers the gift God gave him when he was just a boy, the ability to understand dreams, a gift that never came from him, but from God. "Do not interpretations belong to God?" he says. "Tell me your dreams." The chief cupbearer speaks first.
"In my dream, I saw a vine in front of me. On the vine were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand. I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup in his hand."
Joseph listens, then answers,
"The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift your head and restore you to your position. You will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand just as you used to do. But when all goes well with you, remember me. Show me kindness and mention me to Pharaoh, so I can be brought out of this prison. I was carried off from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I've done nothing to deserve being put in this dungeon."
Hope flickers in the cupbearer's eyes for the first time in a long while. Seeing the good interpretation, the chief baker quickly steps forward with his own dream. "On my head were 3 baskets of bread," he says. "In the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, but birds kept coming and eating them out of the basket on my head." This time Joseph is silent for a while. The meaning that rises in his heart is heavy, like a stone he'd rather not lift. But he won't twist the truth to make it softer.
"The 3 baskets are 3 days.
Joseph finally says.
Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat away your flesh."
The cell goes still. 3 days later, Pharaoh's birthday arrives. Egypt bursts into celebration. At the great banquet, Pharaoh orders the chief cupbearer and the chief baker to be brought up from the prison. In the middle of music and shouting, he restores the chief cupbearer to his position. Once again, the man stands near the throne, placing the royal cup into Pharaoh's hand. But the chief baker is led away to his execution. His body is hung, and birds gather to pick at his flesh, exactly as Joseph had said. Everything happens with almost frightening precision. Yet as the wine tastes sweet again on the cupbearer's tongue, as laughter fills the palace, the memory of the Hebrew prisoner fades. The man who promised to remember Joseph forgets him. Joseph stays below, in the depths where no window opens toward Canaan's sky, where no one calls his name except other prisoners. There must have been nights when he stared at the rough stone above him and whispered,
What about those sheaves of grain bowing down? What about the sun, the moon, and the stars? Where are your promises now?
and then, once more, he chooses to put that question back into God's hands. Because even when people forget, God does not. Right there in the darkness, God is quietly preparing Joseph for a chapter he can't imagine. A chapter where a prisoner will stand before Pharaoh himself. The dreams of the prison have come true, but they're only the overture. One night soon, Pharaoh, the man who holds the fate of a nation, will have dreams that shake Egypt to its core. No sorcerer, no wise man will be able to explain them. In that moment, who will be remembered? And how can a Hebrew prisoner step out of the dungeon and open a new path for entire nations? We'll find out in the next episode when Joseph's journey carries him from a nameless prisoner to the governor of Egypt. Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.